The piece of music you just heard was called Togo, composed by Ed Blackwell and played by the group Old and New Dreams. Don Cherry was playing trumpet, Dewey Redman on tenor saxophone, Charlie Hayden on bass, and Blackwell on drums. Welcome to this program on Edward Blackwell, prepared and presented by Ian Perlman. Ed Blackwell, drummer, musicologist, educator. The man credited with having provided the impetus for Ornette Coleman's revolution in jazz 25 years ago, a revolution whose shockwaves seem to be strongest in Sydney now more than ever. Who is Ornette Coleman? What is free jazz? That's a bit much to answer here, at least for me, but we will have Mr. Blackwell speaking on the subject of his music and plenty of music to illustrate just what he's talking about. Blackwell is one of the three important drummers who worked with Ornette during the 60s, though he'd been playing with Ornette since a long time earlier. To quote Joachim Berendt in his book on jazz, these drummers, Blackwell, Billy Higgins and Charles Moffat, showed that liberation from the meter does not mean liberation from the function of the accompaniment, which I suppose questions the validity of the term free. Blackwell sees, and again I'm quoting Berendt, no contradiction at all between what the drummers of his hometown have always been doing and his own conception. In fact, he does with New Orleans R&B patterns basically the same as Ornette did with Texas blues. Edward Blackwell was in Sydney last March with the group Old and New Dreams, playing their own music and that of Ornette Coleman. I recorded this interview at his hotel. The music comes from various recordings over the last 20 years. You started playing when you were still in New Orleans, didn't you?
Oh yes, quite early in New Orleans.
And like when you first started playing, you what context music were you playing? R&B or?
No, well, when I first started professionally, I played in rhythm and blues. That was the only thing that was happening in New Orleans, rhythm and blues. We hadn't got a hold of Charlie Parker and Max and them yet. They had drifted down toward New Orleans, the bebop, but at that time, rhythm and blues was the main thing.
Right, yeah, Charlie was playing with Jay McShann.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was before my time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at that time, when I started playing, I was playing drums even before I realized that I was trying to play the drums. The youngsters playing with drums with sticks I'd find on the street, banging on steps and on the sidewalks. And I guess it seemed that I've always wanted to be a drummer.
Yeah.
And my first break came in '49 when there was a group starting called the Johnson Brothers. They needed a drummer, and I knew their uncle. I was going with the niece of their uncle, so he recommended me for the job, and that's when I started playing. That was my first professional job.
And that was in New Orleans?
That was in New Orleans, 1949. Yeah, well, there's one special thing about most of the drummers from New Orleans. You can always hear the marching in their beat because the culture that they come up under, that's the way they learn.
Yeah.
And they learn from the marching, because the marching beat, as the military, as you say. But you can hear a lot of it in most of the drummers from New Orleans. And just the way they improvise on it, that makes a difference.
Is that still happening now in New Orleans?
Well, yes, I haven't been in New Orleans since '77, but I left there in '59. But when I was there, there's still quite a lot of drummers, a lot of young drummers playing. In fact, quite a lot of young musicians. New Orleans, in fact, is producing quite a lot of young, talented, very good musicians now. There's a good friend of mine, a friend I used to play with, Ellis Marcellus, the pianist, that we had a quintet called American Jazz Quintet. His son is playing with Art Blakey now, and he's a 19-year-old trumpet. He's a phenomenal trumpet player. He's a monster, 19 years old. So New Orleans produces quite a lot of nice, good musicians.
Where are you living now?
I live in Middletown, Connecticut.
Is that where Wesleyan?
That's where I teach at Wesleyan. Yeah, you know about Wesleyan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where I teach at Wesleyan. I've been there since about '74. I moved there in 1974.
And how much time do you spend teaching?
Well, most of the time during the semester I'm there. You know, I'm running back. New York is only 2 hours. So unless I'm on leave of absence like now, I'm usually back and forth. You know, on the weekends in New York working, teaching most of the week. You know, but it's all right. It's fun.
Have you heard any local music at all?
Well, no, not very much. In fact, the group last night sounded very good. The one that played before we did. Yeah, they sounded very well. In fact, and they you know, I think they have a future of playing them, because if the fans listen at them, I'm sure they can be appreciated.
Yeah.
All they have to do is listen.
Yeah.
And because they sound very good. Believe me, they do. Man, and I heard quite a lot of good music. Yeah. And they sound good.
Great.
They sound good.
I'll tell them that.
Yeah, well, we told most of them that last night, yeah, and you know, and those are real facts. They did, you know, and they did. They really did sound good, and I was complimenting them on the size of the group, you know, because that's the size of the group I love to play with at times, you know, with about 8 or 9 musicians. I've been playing with 4 and 3 for so long. You know, that now, and a while when there was a time when I had the chance to play with 5, with 10, you know, 15 music in New Orleans. But since I left New Orleans, I haven't had that opportunity, except when on that did the double quartet. Then we had more than 4, but otherwise, usually it's either 4 or quartet or a trio, you know, maybe a quintet now and then. But the group last night, they sounded nice.